everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our 3-part series on the Budsin Boat Project. Today's webinar is an interview with Dr. Thomas, principal of CTEC. We will discuss the school's partnership with the Marine Fabricator Association and Budsin Boats. My name is Brooke Kahn, and I am the VP of Marketing at Keystone Brothers, and I'll be moderating today's session. Today's webinar is sponsored by Keystone Brothers. Started in 1868 as a family business, selling saddles, whips, and lashes on the streets of San Francisco, Keystone Brothers today is one of North America's largest and leading national suppliers and innovators of fabrics, vinyls, leathers, and textiles to multiple markets, including automotive, awning, marine upholstery and fabrication, fitness, and furniture upholstery supplies. Keystone Outdoors, our division dedicated to products with the marine and awning markets, outdoor seating, and shade. Keystone Brothers has more than 250 employees and 19 warehouse locations throughout the U.S. And for more information on us, you can visit our website at www.keystone. So today we've prepared some questions for Dr. Thomas. However, you will be able to submit your questions by typing them into the control panel on the right side. At the end of the presentation, we will open the floor to those questions. A recording of today's session will also be emailed out in a follow-up email tomorrow. So with this, I would like to introduce Dr. Thomas and begin today's interview. So hi, Dr. Thomas, how are you today?
I am doing great, thank you. Yourself?
Doing wonderful. So tell us about CTEC. What is it?
CTEC is the Career Technical Education Center. It's a part of the Alamance Burlington School System in Burlington, North Carolina. It is a high school serving students grade 9 through 12. The format that we use is we run 2 sessions. We have a morning session of 2 blocks. Kids will come in from 8:30 to 11, and then we have an afternoon session from 12:30 to 2:50 for 2 more blocks. We have 7 programs of study. We have the Nursing Fundamental Allied Health track where kids can earn their CNA credentials as a completion. We have our culinary program. We actually operate our own culinary business out of our culinary program. We have automotive technology. We have technology engineering and design, which is our engineering intro program. We have computer programming with the Python language. We have digital media and digital broadcasts. We have game art design, and then we have scientific visualization. And our last program is our computer engineering technology, where students can graduate with their CompTIA exam certification if they pass both of the national tests. So we've got a large variety of programs for the students, and we're trying to attract the students to come in to let them understand. One of the biggest questions kids will always have is, why do I need to know this? Well, we want to show them why they need to know it and how industry just overlaps, to let them know and be more prepared when they enter the workforce. We serve over 1,100 students a year here at CTEC, so we're very fortunate from that. The kids, when they come to us, they are still considered students of their own home high school, so they actually graduate from their high school. If you look, we have no kids that are registered to us as an independent school. So the good thing is you get a large group of kids that otherwise wouldn't want to leave their high school because of family traditions of graduating. So they still get to do sports and all the extracurricular activities at their home schools, but they were with us for part of the day.
I love that. So why did CTEC even consider working with the Budsin Boat Makeover?
Well, one of the things that we, like I said earlier, we try to do a lot of is, want to let kids realize there's a bigger picture. In our school district, their strategic plan, the goal is for our students to graduate from high school, go to college, return back to Alamance County, and be contributing members of society, and keeping our kids at home. One of the things that we didn't realize when I first came was the number of international businesses that was associated right here. You've heard the names of companies or whatnot, because we're really located between Greensboro and Raleigh, two larger cities, and a lot of our people they travel outside of the Burlington area to go to one of those two locations to work. And there's so many opportunities locally that wasn't being exposed. And so when our district started hooking up with our strategic plan and showing how many opportunities were in Alamance County, we wanted to take it a step further and show our students how we could get them involved in things beyond what's written in the classroom. And you're still utilizing the same skills, you're utilizing the same knowledge that the textbook would be calling for, but
Mhm.
this way you're putting it in application with real life mode. And when the Budsin group, when Mr. Robinson came forward with the opportunity, we've not shied away from it. We've dabbed in electric vehicles with the Triad Electric Vehicle Association. So we don't shy away from trying things, because one of my mottos for the kids is the best lessons you learn in life come from failures. And if you learn that lesson, um, you'll never forget it. So we encourage our kids to get involved in community activities. And when the boat idea came up, we jumped all over it because we thought it was going to be a great opportunity. Had no idea what we're really getting into, but as it turned out, it was a hit with everyone.
Oh, good. I love that. So what were your expectations for this project?
Well, I kind of went into project open-minded. Mr. Robinson had worked with me on numerous things, so I knew that if he was believing in it and he was high on it, that it was a legit good thing for our students. What I didn't anticipate was the level of engagement that some of our students came on board with. I knew that we were having the engineers to come in from the West Coast and from Colorado to do their sections of the project. What I didn't realize was the fact that our kids had become totally engrossed and decided they wanted to challenge the engineers and create some of their own components with it. And so the expectation my original expectation was to get the kids exposed and letting them work with the engineers and see what all went behind actual production of something with this magnitude. But the reality it became is the kids took it 3 steps further and said, we want to do our own thing. I was hoping we weren't going to get in anyone's way, but it was a super proud moment as a principal when the kids said, hey, we can do that. When you walk into the bay back there, and they had their paper out there and was cutting their paper patterns for it, and just watching the smiles and seeing kids work together from different classrooms that weren't even in the same pathway, but they got to see how all of the things come together. So we really had our automotive kids jumping in on it as the first thing, and then our engineering kids coming in behind it, and then some of the program and design kids jumping in saying, hey, we can do this, this, this. And so it was a really neat project to watch student engagement at the highest level.
Yeah. So since there were multiple different groups, how many students participated overall?
I want to say we probably had about 30 kids in all. We One of the things we do here is I don't require whole classes to participate in something. Um, I learned a long time ago that if you force people to become part of something, if their heart's not in it, you get a product that didn't have much heart. But we had kids that jumped in and said, hey, we want to do this. I had one young lady come up and said, I need a sewing machine. And Mr. Robinson had a sewing machine brought in. We've since bought a sewing machine. But working with Glenn Raven, bringing in some of the Sunbrella fabrics, it was so cool to watch the kids that had normally kind of been on sidelines, I guess, jump out into the playing field and taking leads. And you'd walk in 3 different classrooms on any given block, and groups of kids was working on something related to this. There may have been some other kids doing some other projects, but most of the kids that wanted to do this jumped in and took off with it. So it was really fun to watch and to see their excitement and to talk to them and teach them how to ask for things that they needed. That, with being in the school, you can't always afford everything. But
Right.
trying to teach them too that there's enough community resource, and trying to teach them the proper way to utilize community resources to collaborate on projects to come together. And that's what a lot of them did. Some of our engineering kids and our inventor hardware was with our design kids designing some of the cushions that they were doing. So it was a lot of fun watching them switch back and forth.
What do you think the students expected to gain from their involvement with this project?
I think initially, I think the kids actually thought that it was going to be a project that we pulled a boat, which was really a cool boat, into the bay of our automotive shop. And it was going to be kind of like a show and tell project. I picked up on a couple of our engineering kids. It's like, okay, so there's a boat out here and you got some people coming in to do some work. Great. Um, they thought it was just going to be something that they would stand back and watch. But I don't think they understood the opportunity they had for hands-on and to work right alongside some of the engineers and listen to them to express some of their thoughts and some of their processes of how they could do it and taking on the challenge. So it was really good to watch them grow from the thoughts of this is going to be a show and tell to, hey, we're all hands on board and we're going to make this happen, and being out there with, like I say, 3 different pathways working with one to make something happen. And so their involvement was tenfold what they anticipated on day one, and their excitement matched their involvement.
I love it. So we understand that the engineering students were very enthusiastic to work as hands-on as they were. They developed their own canopy for the Budsin, even though they had no boat fabrication experience. We even heard they used a 3D printing machine for connecting the fabric to the frame. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, they had none of our kids had any experience with fabrication because we don't do any of the design process here class wise, but they came in and was looking at different scenarios brought forth to them between how best to connect the fabric to the frame of the boat, and taking in all the consideration of wind, taking in consideration of weather, of movement, and then aesthetically what's going to look the best and what's going to last. And so as they were going through doing some of these, they would run into different trials that they had to overcome and sit down and brainstorm and say, how can we make this work? How can we do this? Instead of ordering pieces, one of the things we've taught them over the last few years is if you can go in your inventor software and you can design exactly what you want, and then come in trial and error. I think the first time we did some of the 3D printing, as they started to put it together and put it toward the frame, it collapsed because it didn't have enough support internally. So back to the drawing board to strengthen up the mass. So there were some setbacks along the way that they got to experience, to see that just because you think you got it right the first time, you don't always, and it's okay to go back to the drawing board. Same design, tweak a little bit, and then strengthen it. Switch materials is basically what had happened at the end for a stronger material. But that's about the 3rd or 4th time that we've gone through and looked at some of the 3D printing fabrication to entice products that we have.
How cool is that? I bet you were proud of them coming up and working hard and kind of playing around with all the various ideas.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like I say, we're from 8:30 to 11, and then we have a break from 11 to 12:30 where we switch out. But we have a lot of kids that'll drive because they can drive to campus as well. They get out of their home school at 11. They're over here by 11:30. They're already gone in the shop, started working on their stuff. So kids are totally engaged when they're working on it beyond the classroom time, instead of sitting out socializing, but then watching them bring their friends in during that time to say, look at what we're doing. At first people are like, oh, there's a boat that's in automotive, which, automotive shop is not open to everybody to come in. But then we started having more kids wanting to go check it out because of the excitement that the kids had going on with it.
Yeah, the word of mouth passing along from student to student. I love it. So we know another class worked on the cushions and the fender covers. Walk me through that section of the makeover.
That was our technology engineering design class. And those kids had looked in, we looked at the other group doing the actual cover. And instead of having 3 or 4 groups of students doing the same thing, These kids took it upon themselves that, well, if this engineering class is going to do the canopy, then we're going to do the cushions. And, you know, a lot of the straightforwardness of cushions, the thought process of coming out of, hey, it's a cushion, you sew some fabric together, you get the stuff it, and it's all good. Um, Not taking into consideration the outdoor elements, the different components of what's going in aesthetically. The boat is an extremely nice vessel, so your craftsmanship has to match the quality of the boat, so that everything is going in place. The events of taking the fabric that was donated from Glen Raven, and they brought the sewing machine over here. It was just a lot of fun watching those 8, 9 kids try to hone into one experience, and the lessons that were learned through the process was amazing. Kids come in with their own idea and thinking that, I know this is my idea, this is the way we're going to do things, and this is the way it's going to work, without sometimes listening to others. And one of the valuable lessons that we taught through the process was the fact that you present and pitch your sales idea, but you got 8 other 9 people doing the same thing. Now you got to sit down and compromise on whose idea we're going to pursue, because we can't all do stuff individually, and ended up taking bits and pieces from everyone to make it one cohesive project. So taking that class, and that was the project of engineering, principles engineering class, and letting them see, even though we were talking about cushions, we're still in the field of engineering, because there were so many components of engineering that they could go into, and they really had a lot of the fellows actually too jumped in on it and had a great time with the cushions. So we had a great mixture of students involved in it.
I love it. So I know Burlington's local newspaper, Times New, sent over a photographer during the makeover and ran an article. Any comments on the news article, and was there any local feedback that you heard from within the community?
There was a lot of local interest in the project. Some of the other outlets were inquiring about it and had some conflict on that day. But when the Times News ran their article, they had some photographs of the engineers. I think it was the engineers that actually took it out on Lake McIntosh. So they got to see the vessel on the water.
Oh, nice.
Well as it being, there were photographs from the water as well as from being in our shop and with the engineers working with the kids. And the feedback I received locally was how people were excited to see that the community was interacting with the students and bringing the learning to life, as opposed to, I think one of the problems with education is a lot of stuff is that we know we got to learn, but we don't ever know when we're going to use it. And in a project-based learning activity such as this, you're doing application mode the entire time, and you're trial and error. And so the feedback from the community was they were glad to see that people were getting out and doing some of the project-based that was applicable to some of the businesses that were related here in Alamance County.
Love it. So overall, were you and CTEC pleased with the event?
Oh yes, we were tickled with it. I told them the only thing to make it better is if we had been in Florida when it was unveiled, to do part of the presentation. But yeah, that was wishful thinking. But we were very excited.
Yeah.
And taking on projects of this magnitude, and Mr. Robinson has been great. Like I say, this is the second one he brought to us and we participated with. It just gives kids an opportunity to see beyond the book in the classroom and to see the application of their knowledge being put into place. So we were very pleased with how people come together to support learning in our community. And even though some of the stuff, we were off on some stuff at the end of the day, it was okay because the kids were totally bought into the process. It was a kind of a quick turnaround for us. We had Christmas vacation in the middle of it, if I remember correctly, and then exams when we came back. We were only in school like a week or so after Christmas. So our time frame we were really cramming a lot of activity into a short period of time. But we thank people like yourself for putting the opportunity out there for us and making the learning real for the kids.
Well, I know the students enjoyed it. I know you were extremely happy with how it came out. Is there any other thoughts that you have before we open up to questions from the people listening in today?
I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, now I'd like to open the floor up to all of you guys listening today. If you have any questions for Dr. Thomas, please enter them in over on the control panel. So do you have, this is from Derek Robinson, do you have any thoughts on other ideas, ways, suggestions, how organizations like IFAI and MFA could continue to support continuing education, not just in Burlington, but anywhere?
I think it would be a great opportunity. I know that this was nationwide because I think our engineers was from California, Oregon, maybe, and Colorado. But anytime organizations has a project such as this, sometimes when schools reach out, I know a lot of businesses will say, "What do they want now? You want money." That's what we're good. But we were trying to reach out for opportunities, and so for corporate America to reach out to schools and say, "Hey, I've got this project going on. If it's something you're interested in." Like I said earlier, if you force people to participate in projects of this magnitude, you're going to get a forced result. But when it's just presented of, here's an idea, here's a project, would your kids be interested in it? I think it'd be surprising on how many more students would be engaged in the learning process. And it really, from an administrator's end, it really captivated a lot of kids that maybe sometimes weren't as engaged in the classroom.
Mhm.
They saw the ownership, and there's a lot of learners out there that if they know why they're doing it, and I told the kids, it's funny that you start thinking beyond that the career pathways and back to the core classes of the math, the science classes, the angles. You're looking at kids doing trigonometry and math 3, that if you put the problem in front of them on paper and said, solve this problem, they wouldn't have a clue necessarily how to get started. But when you put this project of this boat in front and say we need these angles cut
Right.
on here, they're performing high level math. They just don't realize it. So what we're trying to do is to work backwards from the project to the application paper. I think too often we try to go from paper to application, and it's okay to go backwards sometimes. So, but opportunities such as this, we're open always to a company coming and saying, "Hey, let's try this," and we'll see if we can make it work. But I think if something it's too bad there's not a platform across America of corporations saying, "I've got these projects. Can you match up a school that's willing to work with us?" And I think people would be
Right.
surprised how much intervention would be taking place with
And just the hands-on experience is great for those kids.
it. And they're too. They work with
So
working with the
this is
engineer.
from,
Go ahead.
did we lose you?
Yeah, I'm back.
Can you hear me?
Can now, yes.
Okay. Perfect. We lost you for just a second, but you're back. So this is from Jeff, who was one of the fabricators that worked on the program with you. They really enjoyed seeing how the students became more engaged as the project went along. Can you comment on any feedback that you got from the students themselves and what kind of captured their interest the most?
Yeah, I think like I said earlier, at first the kids thought it was going to be a show and tell, kind of an assembly moment where you're going to sit back and watch. But the way the engineers interacted with the kids, it made them feel at ease and comfort, and kind of threw the challenge out with them, saying when they found out this is what the engineers were doing, here's your 3 engineers and their 3 different projects, and realizing that, hey, we can go back and mimic that as well. It really excited them because they knew that the teacher knows the knowledge, but they were actually working with people who were actually doing the project itself. So they were getting a double dose of what's going on in it as well. So the kids were really excited about it.
So what do you think, did the use of the digitized patterning equipment make things more exciting for them too?
I think so, and for the kids being able to use the equipment and to play in the application mode more so kept them entertained in the learning process, and made it a little bit easier for them to understand how things were being done.
Wonderful. We'll wait just a few more minutes in case any other questions come in. And just a reminder to all of our attendees today, we'll have a recording of this session emailed out to you guys tomorrow, and then we'll have it uploaded on the IFAI website as well. We also will be sending out a link to the news article that we mentioned that was in the Times News newspaper. So you can see the pictures of the fabricators working with the students. It was a really great article, and just to make sure you guys get to see that. And if we do get any other further questions, Dr. Thomas, I'll send them over to you and we can respond via email. But I appreciate your time today, and thank you so much for answering our questions and working with us. I think both our expectations of working on this project initially and then what the students in your school got out of it was something that was really special.
And we'll be more than happy to team with you guys anytime.
Perfect, we'll be ready. So, and thank you to those that joined us today. Registration is live for our next week's webinars. We sit down with the 3 fabricators involved with this boat fabrication project. We learn about their experience with teaching the trade to students, as well as how they pattern several different boat applications from the cover, top, cushions, and curtains using traditional and electric methods. So you can register for this webinar at www.ifai.com/events. And thanks again for everyone. We look forward to hosting you next week. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Enjoy your day.
Have a great day.